happy Tuesday. It is Tuesday, September the 27th, the 270th day of the year. There are 95 days left in 2022. And welcome to another edition of Tuesdays with Thom. And I hope you're not in the path of Hurricane Ian. It looks like it's going to be a monster. And so we wish all you well, and we say prayers for everybody. Luckily, we're in Florida, but we're on the other side. And so hopefully we'll be fine, but we've got friends and loved ones who may be in the path. And so we wish them all well, and we say prayers for them. So when was the last time you had a flat tire? It's been a while for me. As a matter of fact, it's been so long since I had one. When it happened, I didn't even know if I had a spare tire. And if I did have a spare tire, I didn't know where it was. I looked in the spare tire compartment and there was no tire. But thanks to Officer Thompson of the Auburn Police Department, he not only discovered where the spare tire was, it was under the car, not in the spare tire compartment, but he got down on the ground and got all dirty and helped me to change the tire. Today, I have to say a huge thank you to Officer Thompson of the Auburn Police Department. The man got dirty when he didn't have to. He helped me to get back on the road, got me over to Pep Boys, where I bought a new tire and was able to head home. Thank you, Officer Thompson. Certainly appreciate all the help. I don't know if you guys saw it, but the highlight of the Auburn's last football game, which was hard to watch, but the highlight of the game was the tribute to James Curtis Owens, who was the first African-American football player, first African-American football player at Auburn University. He was my roommate. He was a special guy, and they honor him every year with the annual Courage Award because he exhibited so much courage in being the first and in going through some things that nobody should have to go through. So on November 12th, there will be an event honoring James where at least 30 some odd former athletes from Auburn University, we're calling them the forgotten ones, guys who came to Auburn as athletes who left, many of whom have never been back. And so they're coming on November the 12th. We're looking forward to it, and I commend the university for the honor for James this past Saturday in front of all those thousands of people. He was an incredible man. He was my roommate. He was my friend. And just kudos to Auburn University for honoring the man. Okay. Our G-list guest for today is Cindi Malinick. Cindi Malinick is the director and chief curator of the Jule Smith Museum of Fine Art at Auburn University in Auburn, Alabama. It's a fantastic facility. This is our second visit with Cindi, as she promised she'd come back this fall to share some new exhibits with us, one of which is the new Kinsey exhibit, an African-American collection of art and artifacts. Also today, we will discuss the art of smell and museum in motion. But first of all, this edition of Tuesdays with Thom, of course, is sponsored by our partners, the Best Girl consulting firm. Best Girl has been providing customized solutions to executive issues for 34 years. Let's hear from Best Girl.
Best Girl is a consulting firm that provides customized leadership, access and inclusion, public relations, communications, and organizational consulting services. Clients include Fortune 500 companies, utilities, higher education institutions, small businesses, and associations. Best Girl's team of consultants, led by Joyce Gilly-Gossam, Emily Hedrick, and Sean Jones, partners with business and education clients to promote organizational effectiveness, communication, motivation, and leadership, with always an impact on the bottom line. Best Girl's customized consulting services include strategic planning, corporate communication, executive coaching, fundraising, and economic development.
Best Girl creates the solution that fits your needs. So let's get to our roundtable regulars and introduce Barbara Wallace Edwards and Michael Walker. Barbara Wallace Edwards is originally from Mobile, Alabama, but she currently lives in Birmingham, Alabama. And Barbara has been a mainstay on TWT since we started. Good morning, Barbara. How are you?
Good morning, Thom. I'm doing well. Thank you. How are you today?
I'm doing very well, thank you. I am recovering nicely and moving right along. So, what's
Well,
going on in your world?
Thom, I had another very busy weekend. It was filled with a lot of music and celebrations. On Thursday evening, thanks to my dear friends Barbara and Tom Larkin, I had an opportunity to attend the opening concert and performance events of Hoover Library and saw a group called the Abrams, who I'd never heard of before, a group out of Canada, but they were absolutely phenomenal. And then over the weekend, the city of Irondale celebrated their 135th year. So it had a big celebration, their 135th birthday celebration, and had a music festival. And it was an all Alabama lineup. And I tell you, it was phenomenal. We sort of forget about all the talent that we have here in our state. We're probably the only state that have two American Idol winners here in Alabama, and both Taylor Hicks and Ruben Studdard performed. Pastor Mike Jr., Eric Estes, who's a phenomenal jazz artist, along with Kim Scott, also a jazz artist. A group called the Lamont Landers Band out of Decatur, Alabama, that I'd heard of, but I'd never seen them in person. And they were, if you haven't heard this group, you got to look them up. They really will surprise you. Really good group. And then we had local talent, Sherry Brown and Dee Bradley, who did their own tribute to Mary J. Blige and Frankie Beverly. And I tell you, if you close your eyes, you would have thought that we had the actual talent, Mary J. and Frankie on the stage there on Sunday evening. It was really, really great.
Well, good. And I'm going to always say this every time I hear that term, local talent. Talent is talent.
That's
it doesn't
true.
get to be local, national, regional, whatever. Talent is talent.
You told me that before. You're right.
I did. I hate when people say that.
Yes.
Anyway, let's go to see what Michael Walker's got to say this morning. Good morning, Michael Walker.
Good morning, TG. Good morning, Barbara. How are both of you today?
Doing well, sir.
I'm doing great. Let me ask you a question here. So you were with me when Officer Thompson rescued us that day. Talk about Officer Thompson. He was great, wasn't he?
Yes, he was. He was great. I think that he certainly needs to be commended for his acumen and his because you hear so often how police officers have maybe, quote, an attitude when they see two African American men, and especially two that are not very little men. So he was fine. He came up. He reported what was going on as he was walking to us. I saw him give out your license plate number, but instead of doing what many would suspect, him started rambling through your car and my car, looking for this or looking for that. He came to the rescue and pitched in. He worked as if it was his car and his flat, to be honest with you.
He did. I mean,
that's great.
He got dirty.
Yeah.
He got dirty. He didn't just stand and point. He got down on the ground.
Wow.
he got dirty. And
and as a matter of fact, I had gotten down on one knee and looked under, and I didn't see the flat, but he laid down chest to ground and looked up and found it. And so that was a difference.
And it probably had been there since I had the car, because it was filthy. And I am sending them a letter to the police department, because I think he went above and beyond the call of duty, and we certainly appreciate it. And then Dennis came. I don't know neither one. I don't know Dennis's last name, but he was from AAA. Dennis came and finished it off and relieved Officer Thompson and put me back on the road, and he was great. And then I went to Pep Boys, and I can't remember that gentleman's name, but he was great. And they got me in and out in the same day. And so it was one of those days where, it could have been a nasty attitude kind of day for me, but it was a great day. And I thank him so much. It was wonderful. So Let me ask you guys something. So anyway, I'll ask you guys about the Auburn football game. I'll let y'all talk about it. Go ahead.
Oh, that was
Does it-
painful. Oh,
It was hard to watch, to be honest with you. It was very hard to watch. As a matter of fact, I got up and I missed the Missouri to end the game because I knew he was going to make it. It was such a chip shot.
right.
This guy had supposedly hit 67 or 62-yard field goals, and this was like a 29-yarder, I think. And I just didn't want to see it go down that way, so I got up and went to the restroom. We're going to overtime. I was like, what happened?
I turned the TV off because I knew he made it. I mean, I just couldn't watch it any longer. And I wasn't sitting there just watching the entire game anyway, because it was, it was terrible in my opinion. So I just determined that last 2 minutes, I just couldn't watch anymore. I just turned the TV off totally.
What I liked was how they showed him on the sideline, and he was getting ready to go in, and he
Right.
never warmed up. They said he
Yeah.
don't even warm up, man.
Right.
He's just
did.
that good.
But they
Oh,
decided
man.
that he was basically 50-50. I thought he was, a much more accurate kicker than that. But they said he basically only had successful
didn't
kicks
want-
of 10,
if I
10
was
out
his
of 10,
coach,
10 out of 20.
He would have to warm up from now on.
Yeah.
At least get in the vicinity of the goals.
Tom, I saw this quote on social media, and I have to share it with everyone. An Auburn fan said, someone had said, congratulations on that win. They was like, win? We didn't win anything. We were ahead at the end of the game, but we most certainly did not win.
Well, let's give the
I thought
guy,
that was fitting.
give the players some credit.
Yes.
They get a win, and
They
they
played their hearts out. I have to say
played
they did.
hard, and I the only thing I can say is I don't know. I don't have any conclusions at this point.
Well, what was
doesn't
funny
look
though
good.
is in the overtime when the Missouri running back made that move and headed to the goal line
Oh God!
to make a touchdown to end the game,
Again,
he just dropped the ball before he went in. He was actually trying to switch to his right from his left
Yeah.
to his right, to stick it
Yeah.
And
across the
extend
plane.
his hand.
Yeah.
But
I
it
did
just-
see that.
It just dropped out of his hand before he went into the end zone.
I wonder
I had to
what
go
that-
back and watch that part because I just could how did that happen? What did they knock it out of his hand? But no, they didn't.
Wonder what their locker room was like. I know what ours would have been like if one of our guys, hey, just run it in the end zone, fall down. If you fall on the one, that's okay. We got another down.
Right.
But all that reaching and all that just doesn't seem to work out. Hey, I see we got Loretta Freeman on here, and Loretta, we are trying to identify the first women basketball players at Auburn University. And if you can help us with that, we would appreciate it. We've got 30-something guys coming back who were the first African-American athletes at Auburn University. They'll be down there on campus on November the 12th. And so we're trying to find women along with that. So if you can help us, if you'd get in touch with Barbara, if you can help us, that would be great. We appreciate it. Thank you very, very much. Barbara,
And
you got something
Tom,
to add?
yes, I did find the name of the person. Her name is the first scholarship, female scholarship athlete at Auburn was Marianne Merritt. And she lives in Damascus, Georgia. So I haven't been able to get her contact information, but I do know her name now. And she's actually, I think, a teacher if she hasn't retired. And the first Black female scholarship athlete at Auburn was Wendell Merritt, who also lives, I think, in the Atlanta area. But I haven't been able to find contact information on either one of those ladies. So
Do they spell their name the same?
the
Merritt?
last name are spelled the same. Of course, they're not related. One is Black and one is white. But yes, I would love to be able to get in touch with them.
Well, I'll tell you like this lady told me one time. She called me up, and her name was Gossam. And this is when there were very few Gossams. And she said, yeah, she was in Oregon. And she said she was traveling through, wanted to know if she could stop and visit with me. And I said, fine, that'd be fine. She said, because we're probably related. I said, well, ma'am, you sound like you're white. I'm black. She said, that doesn't matter. We're still related. So
That's right.
they could very well be related.
That's so true. That is
So
true.
let me let you, what you guys got something for us? Michael, you got something?
Yeah, I have a couple things. One is you were talking earlier about getting your COVID vaccination. I just like to inform our viewers out there that do not forget about getting your flu shot. They're expecting this to be a tough winter for the flu. And the reason being is because the last 2 years, because of the lockdown due to COVID, there's not been any buildup of immunity towards the flu. And to give us an idea of a preview of what's to come, down in the Southern Hemisphere, it's winter now. And in Australia, there were only, there were 0 deaths in 2021 due to the flu and only 37 reported cases. But this year now in 2022, there have been over 600 confirmed influenza cases, and there's been a lot more deaths this year.
Wow.
And primarily what they're saying is the demographic are the seniors and the elderly. And so they are trying to actually pinpoint them and focus on that demographic to help lower the cases. But they're expecting us to have a pretty tough flu season this year. So you may want to get a flu shot. It's okay to get it at the same time that you get your coronavirus shot as well. So I would recommend that.
Since you said it was seniors and elderly, that eliminates me, so I'm good.
Well, that eliminates all of us, Tom.
I wasn't talking about you, TG. I was talking about real seniors.
I already got my flu. I already got my shot. So just to be sure, I went ahead and got the booster. Go ahead, Michael.
Okay. The other thing is, guys, you know, it's coming up for the midterm elections, and there's been a lot of talk about the former president trying to run again. But on Sunday, there was a guy by the name of Denver Riggleman. He's a former GOP lawmaker from Virginia and a House member. And he's being ridiculed. And more poignant is that he's being ridiculed by his own mother. She sent him a text and said that she's sorry he ever was elected. And the reason being is because he has been cooperating and telling about the January 6th plans to overthrow the election. And he's spoken out against Trump. And he said that he knew his mother was deeply Republican and deeply, get this, religious. However, she has disavowed him because he is speaking out against the former president. She actually sent him a note and said, you know, you are officially a part of the swamp. You know, she said, I love you, but cannot stand by and listen to your elitist attitude and being praised by elitist journalists and Democrats. Congratulations. You're now part of the swamp. I'm sorry you were ever elected. You are officially a politician. I cried over you and my heart is broken by you.
Hmm.
I don't know. I can't say much.
I was going to say there's not much you can come back with that one. That's sad.
Can you imagine that? You know, he's doing what he took an oath to do.
Right.
You know, to serve. Yes. He is a Republican, but he's telling the truth, and he is condemning the person that caused a lot of issues, and his own mother has turned against him.
You know, I think in the last election, I just vowed to pretty much keep my opinions to myself, you know, and I'm not trying to change anybody's mind. I can think what I want to think. Mm-hmm. I just don't have to express it. And, you know, we'll see. We'll see. Hey, so I got a question for you guys. I heard that we're talking about Auburn football. Tank Bisbee gave money or something to that effect to his fellow teammates because I guess he's got a nice NIL. You guys got any information about that?
I didn't hear anything about him giving them money. I heard he gave the entire team Beats by Dre, the earphones. So he presented them all with Beats by Dre.
Yes, but it equated to about $340 something thousand because of the cost of those Beats by Dre.
Yes. Okay.
And from what I understand, he gave it to everybody.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the walk-ons, all that type of stuff. As a matter of fact, in the clip, I saw Harsin with some in his hand.
Yes, Harsin had some as well. So I assume he gave it to the coaching staff also.
Oh, okay. We'll move on then. So I got a, I don't know if you guys saw the ceremony with James Owens during the game. I was shocked actually because I thought it was some kind of funny commercial or something. But Gloria, his wife, was on the field, and I think they were giving out the Courage Award, which is what they do every year. And the Courage Award is based on James and the courage he displayed in being the first African American scholarship football player, not just at Auburn, but in the state of Alabama, in the state of Mississippi, and in the state, I think, South Carolina. And a great guy. And as I mentioned to you guys, 30 some odd guys have committed to coming back to Auburn for a celebration of the James Owens Foundation, which was started when James passed, and run by his wife Gloria, to celebrate the man. He was an incredible man. It's interesting because most of the blacks who followed him, and one of them being one of my roommates, Mitzi Jackson, still refers to him as Daddy. We all called him Daddy Owens. He was like our fathers. He was, strong, steady, dependable, just a great human being. And so I'm proud that they did that, and hopefully there'll be more of that to come.
And Thom, along those same lines, I want to commend you on the interview you had with Ike Jones on the War Report. I got a chance to watch that, and you did a fantastic job of talking about the history of Auburn University's, integration of the athletic department, and Henry and James Owens, and even yourself, and the impact that you had on athletics there at Auburn, or just the university as a whole. So thank you so much. I've shared that across social media and received a lot of positive comments from people in the social media world as well.
Well, first of all, I think Emily just corrected me and told me that the Courage Award will be given on November 12th, the same day as the breakfast. So I stand corrected. No problem there. Good. So November 12th, got to give Gloria a lot of credit for carrying on her husband's legacy. I enjoyed doing the interview. I can't really tell you what I said. I just kind of talked from the top of my head. I haven't gone back to look at it. I very seldom watch the stuff I do, unless somebody tells me I said something really stupid. Then it's like I'll go back and look at it. Like, damn, I did say that, didn't I? But I think that we should always honor those people who made sacrifices like that. And James and Henry, I vowed when I left Auburn University that I would uphold their legacies, because they were incredible. They gave a lot. They gave a lot more than they got.
Yes.
And Henry was, if you go back and look at these guys, they were pretty incredible. Henry was valedictorian of his school. He came to Auburn, and I can't imagine this, but I think at the time there were like 150 guys in the athletic department, in the athletic dormitory, and which means there'd be 150 guys at lunch and breakfast and dinner, and he was the only African American. And I came 2 years after him. Virgil and I came, and I always have to remember Virgil. But I could not have imagined being there by myself. I think, and I think the thing that James said that was the hardest for him was he never felt like he was at home, and he
Right.
didn't mean that as the university, but it's just that he had a really close family. He missed them. He didn't have the friendships that he had. And you remember when we had Ricky, can't think of Rick's last name now, Rick Davis,
Yes.
on the show, and Rick talked about Wilbur Jackson, who was at
Mhm.
Alabama at the time, one of the first two blacks there, and how Wilbur was always in the TV room.
Mhm.
If you wanted to find Wilbur, he was in the TV room. Well, that was the same with James. That was his. That was his. That's where that was his. It was his room. That was
His
where he
place of
hung out.
comfort.
Yeah,
Yes.
definitely.
And
So
Tom,
anyway,
having been
go ahead.
the first person to integrate the elementary school in my area, I can understand how that could feel. You know, being the only black in a classroom of 30 children, but at least I had my family to go home to after school. James
Mhm.
didn't have that, you know, and Henry didn't
Mhm.
have that. So you just feel totally isolated. Like, you know, nobody wants to sit with you at lunch. Nobody wants to play with you on the playground. So I can associate with how that could possibly feel.
The play we're doing, and I'm just going to mention this little part called Alabama Boys. Michael O'Neill and I. Michael tells the story of growing up in Montgomery and there being one black child in the entire school,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
and how he felt bad for that child because the child was always by himself.
Yeah.
Nobody talked to him. Nobody played with him. Nobody sat with him. And I don't know if it was worth it. I hope it was. I
Right.
hope he's okay because I know that stuff stays with you a long time.
Mhm.
So let's see. Okay, anybody got anything else?
Well, yes, I do. Well, one thing first, I want to say, Tom, I commend you on continuing to be an ambassador for Auburn University. I tell people you're the epitome of an Auburn man. So, congratulations, and you need all the accolades and accommodation that you deserve for the role that
Yes.
you've played. So,
Thank you.
I want to say that to you. And speaking of integration, there's rumor that Deion Sanders was on an airplane to Auburn University a couple of weeks ago to have a conversation. And it has been confirmed that after the Penn State game, he did fly into Auburn and land at the airport. Are we going to have an integration of head football coaches at Auburn University?
Barbara, go ahead and answer.
I hope so. It's time. It is past time. I don't know. I heard this morning that he's also on a short list for the opening at Georgia Tech. They fired their coach over the weekend, and so there's a possibility that I think that he could be interviewing for that position as well. So we'll see how it all turns out. But I do hope so that Auburn is open to hiring the best person for the job, regardless of race. So.
Well, I also read another article, and Tom, I know you didn't comment on that, but there's a guy on Georgia's staff that's an Auburn grad that played safety at Auburn and has done a hellacious job. And supposedly he's Kirby Smart's right-hand man. When Kirby's not there, he turns everything over to Dale McGee.
Mm-hmm.
And this guy wrote an article last night and said, you know, Auburn should really look at Dale McGee. He's the one that's been recruiting all these 4 and 5 stars.
Right.
And he owns West Georgia and that area.
Yeah,
It
and
doesn't really matter to me, but I think
Dale,
we need to do something different than what
yes.
we've done in the past.
Dale's name actually came up, I think, when Harsin was hired. Excuse me. So I do think he should be given consideration as well.
I think whomever.
Yes.
And I know that that's the way the game works. I sort of hate to see Dion leave the HBCU because he's put the spotlight on him. He's helped raise the profile of the HBCUs across the country. But I understand about progress and so on and so forth. Also, we've got to get somebody that can recruit.
Absolutely.
That can recruit against Nick Saban.
Yes.
Who has the attitude that we're going to kick your ass.
Yes.
And we haven't had that attitude lately.
In a very long time.
I can imagine teams coming into our stadium back when we played and winning a game. That wasn't going to happen.
Right.
You know, the only team I remember coming in there winning the game was LSU, and it was mud, and they were all sloshing around in the mud and so on and so forth. So anyway, I think it'll be interesting to see where it goes. You know, Coach Harsin is the coach, so let's remove until or if that happens. So anything else?
I do have one last thing, Tom. This is NPHC Greek Week at Auburn University, celebrating 50 years of integration in the Greek organizations at Auburn. And on Friday, there will be a dedication of the NPHC Legacy Plaza. So I hope that everyone can attend that event. They're having events throughout the week, but that's the culmination of those events will be on Friday afternoon.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. Anything else from you, Michael?
Nope, that's all I have.
Okay. Well, let's move on to Sean, and Sean has got a minute for us.
Good morning. My name is Sean Jones, and this is Got a Minute. Hello to everyone joining in with us this morning. I hope you all are well and in great spirits today. It's Tuesday, September 27th, and on this day in 1989, Hollywood actress and socialite, famous for her bubbly yet flirtatious persona, Zsa Zsa Gabor was on trial for slapping a police officer. She stormed out of the courtroom in the middle of the district attorney's closing argument. The prosecutor told the jury that Gabor craves media attention and abused 2 weeks of the process for her own self-aggrandizement. Although her attorney objected when the prosecutor said the defendant doesn't know the meaning of truth, Gabor was already running out in tears. Zsa Zsa played on shows such as Gilligan's Island, Batman, and The Love Boat. Thank you all for joining in. My name is Sean Jones, and this has Got a Minute.
Zsa Zsa sounds a little bit like a Kardashian, doesn't she? So let's go to the G list. Hollywood has the A list, and here on Tuesdays with Thom, we have the G list today. Cindi Malinick. Cindi is the chief curator, and there you go, the director of the Jule Collin Smith Museum of Fine Art at Auburn University. She is a successful senior executive and cultural administrator. She's been at museums, historic sites, educational institutions, and not-for-profit corporations across the country. She has been on the show with us maybe a year and a half ago, and she promised she'd come back. So let's get her on here, and we will see what she's got to tell us today. Good morning.
Good morning. I wish I could have been a part of this conversation earlier. Barbara and Thom Larkin and music and flat tires and, Zsa Zsa.
Oh, I thought you didn't want to talk about the football team, though.
Well, yeah, I think the answer in a word is no. I'm still clear of that.
I understand. So what's going on with you?
Oh, what's not going on, Thom? It's so great to be with you and Barbara and Michael. Good to see you all again. We were remembering earlier, the last time I was on, we were in such the depths of COVID back in February of 21. So things are better and brighter. We're not fully on the other side, are we? Flu, that's another thing. I get my flu shot on top of that, everything else. But things are good. Things are just fine. I've got another grandbaby on the way, by the way, in January.
Congratulations.
I do. And just, doing such wonderful things here, and just grateful to be with y'all and see you this morning. And I'm trying to think, like, when was the last time I had a flat tire, and do I know where my spare is in the car?
Well, when we looked into the trunk area, my little SUV, there was just a round space in there, and it's like, oh man, what are we gonna do?
It's Scooby-Doo, rut-row, rut-row.
Yes.
Hey. So tell us what's new at the museum. What's happening?
Well, lots of things. Let me just follow on Barbara's comment about the Legacy Plaza and all of that's coming up. We're actually collaborating with all of those folks, and we've got one of the events here on Thursday night. So
I will be
it's
there.
on the website. So anybody that's here, it's free and open to the public. So that would be a great thing for folks that are in town and or celebrating, that wonderful event. There's so many things that you all said today about honoring courage and, respecting and lifting up those that have come before us and trying new things. Got to do some different things. If this isn't working, let's try something else. And I feel like a lot of those comments today come together with what we're doing at the museum. So we've got 3 new exhibitions. We're on an academic calendar. We're an academic museum, right? We're Auburn University's museum. It's the University Art Collection, which means it's owned by the state of Alabama, right? We're a public institution. So we opened at the end of August with 3 new exhibitions and a huge student party. Kids were here till 11 o'clock at night. We had this DJ in from Los Angeles, and he curated music to the exhibits. It was, I knew it was a great night when the director couldn't find a parking spot. I thought, fantastic. Wow. That's good. That's great. So 3 new exhibits, and happy to talk with you all about them. One of them, part of the one you can see is behind me here. But happy to answer questions and tell you about any and all of it.
Tell us about the one behind you. Is that Frederick Douglass?
Yeah, that is Frederick Douglass. This is Frederick Douglass. This is a small part of the Kinsey collection of art and history. And Mr. and Mrs. Kinsey, who are in Los Angeles, have been collecting objects and artifacts and art by deceased artists and living artists, all Black, all African-American artists, and objects and artifacts about African-American history in the United States. And, exhibits tell stories, and I'm a historian actually by training. My master's degree is in history, and I think a lot about, and certainly these days, we talked a little bit about politics, but even like how we're allowed to talk about African-American history and just all of that's banned books, all of these things that are happening right now. And this exhibit, it flies in the face of that. I mean, we've got a Phyllis Wheatley 1773 book of her poems. I'm looking right now at a $100 Confederate bill. And over here, I'm looking at a poster that says "Honor King, End Racism" that was carried during the March on Washington. I look across and I see art. I see Gee's Bend quilts, a piece by Purvis Young, Alma Thomas, who's from Columbus, Georgia. So it's a breathtaking exhibit of a personal collection, this family's collection, and they have been traveling it across the country for some period of time. This is the first time it's been in Alabama. And their goal is to raise awareness and share the strength and the horror and everything in between about the African-American experience. So I would love for you all to come and see it and just take it in. this is the first time I've really actually sat and kind of soaked it in a little bit while I'm listening to you all, and it's really quite beautiful and quite.
Are we at a point, I was going to say in this country, and I'll just say in Auburn or wherever, where we can talk about these issues and learn from them, as opposed to some people say, well, they're offended. I ain't going to talk about Governor DeSantis.
I think it's
ahead.
It's a fair question, Thom, and it's incumbent upon me and the team here, and I think the museum, to offer opportunities for engagement around a host of topics. And art in particular allows people to kind of enter in, I think, sometimes into conversations that they might have otherwise have difficulty with. Now, that doesn't mean that works for everybody, but I felt that way since I arrived. It's partly why I came. I thought there was an opportunity, and I thought it was important for Auburn to take that opportunity. So this is, again, a traveling show, but some of the pieces here we have by artists in the collection, Elizabeth Catlett and Purvis Young. So, and we've been purposefully collecting more over the last 3.5 years, art by women and by people of color, because we were quite deficient in that area. So I don't know, it feels like sometimes one step forward, maybe a lot of steps back, but we're here to have those conversations and to offer that opportunity.
Very good, very good. Michael, Barbara, questions?
Yes, good morning, Cindi. I will actually be a part of the panel on Thursday evening, so I'm looking forward to coming.
Good. Well, I get to introduce you then.
Yes,
Good.
Yes, I'm looking forward to that. But I want you to talk a little bit about all the different programs you offer there. Creative Cubs is something that I thought was very interesting. Can you tell us our viewers a little bit about that particular program?
I sure can. That is for the little pumpkins in town, whether I think 3 to 4 years old, something like that. And we offer it once a month in the mornings, and caregivers or whoever's, if they're at their nursery school, can sign up and come, and it's free. And they get to come into the museum and do an art project that's based on something that's on exhibit, and learn and experience what it means to come to a museum. It's really important to offer and try to find ways to bring people in. Not everybody has the experience of, oh, I grew up going to a museum. I did, but not everyone has that experience. Not everyone either feels welcome or has the opportunity. So it's something that is very popular. I think it's booked. You have to make a reservation, but there's room for 10 or 15, 20 little children, and they always leave with a little project, and it's always based on what's on exhibit, some aspect of what's on exhibit.
Wow, that's great. And another thing, one of the other things that I did not know is you actually offered opportunity for professors to have classes there at the museum. So I think some of the professors actually holding class there.
They absolutely are. And again, it's, we are a university museum. It's our mission to serve as part of the whole mission of the university, but it's our mission to serve and support the faculty and students. And as we've been kind of growing the last 3.5 years, we've really kind of filled out a great team. And one of our new staff members, his sole job is to connect with the faculty and offer opportunities, not only for them to come, for students to come. We can bring out art if it's not on exhibit. They actually have class in the exhibits as well, in the galleries as well, but we do have one study room. But there are lots of ways that any faculty member could connect with an object, connect with art to teach, whether it's dance or chemistry. So it's not just art history, but we've seen an exponential growth starting last spring with faculty coming and bringing students. And then they come back on their own later, the students do, if they've got an assignment. So that was a real area of growth for us, and there's more to do, but we sure do. In fact, that classroom is actually now designated as an academic space when previously it wasn't. So yeah.
Thank you.
That makes me very happy. that we're doing that.
Okay.
Well,
Michael?
Cindy, I want to commend you on your vision and forethought in
Oh,
making sure that Auburn is a part of certain exhibits like this. But I want to kind of dig into the business aspect of it. How did you get on the list or however where this exhibit would actually come to Auburn? What went into that? And then how long will you have it? And then do you have to ensure that while it's there, or how is all that handled in case of an issue?
Oh, yeah. Thank you for all those questions, because I call myself an arts administrator because this is a business for sure. I mean, we're part of a university, so we're part of a big enterprise, but we have a budget and we certainly have insurance. Risk management is always trying to make sure that they've got the right dollar amount to cover us. So this exhibit in particular came about because of, he's now just been on staff a year, but our director of curatorial affairs is friends with Kahil Kinsey, who is the son of Mr. and Mrs. Kinsey. And he knew about the exhibit. It was in Los Angeles. Then it was scheduled to go down to, it was in Florida, I think, recently, in the Panhandle somewhere. And so sometimes that's how it happens. It's like anything, it's who you know. So our director of curatorial affairs knew the son of Mr. and Mrs. Kinsey. And they were as interested in having the exhibit come to Alabama for all the reasons that are quite obvious, right, as we were, and having it come. So just the timing and it all worked out. But we have exhibitions now planned up through 2025, because it does take so much time to plan and ship and paint and build walls and think about how we're going to engage with the faculty and the students. So that's how it came to us. And there is a fee that goes along with traveling exhibitions. We've had other shows that have come to us on loan, and there's a fee that comes along with that. So we factor that into the budget. We're always trying to raise money around that too. But that's how this particular show came to us.
Great.
And similarly, the Ramel Ross exhibition, which I think we've got a clip of some of this at some point. So Emily, somebody give me the high sign when you want to see it. But the Ramel Ross exhibition has come to us from the Ogden Museum in New Orleans. And I met Ramel, I'd only been here 3 weeks or something. And he was here screening his Oscar-nominated film, Hale County, this evening. And he had gone and just moved to Hale County as kind of a community worker. And he played basketball at Georgetown. His father was in the Foreign Service, but he was really interested in working with youth. And so he made this movie that you all have got to watch if you haven't seen it. I mean, there was obviously so much trust between Ramel and the community in Hale County. So he's just stayed there. And so this new exhibit is photography and sculpture, and he's just an amazing artist and an amazing young man. So again, we contacted the Ogden because I just love him so much and his work. And again, it was available. And so there's scheduling, there's money, there's all of that, insurance. But we try to stay on top of all of that.
Great.
Do we want to show this clip that we've got? Emily, Sean, are we ready to do that? Okay, they say. So, let's show them. nice. Very nice.
Oh, that.
Yeah.
Cindi,
I have
you want to comment? Go ahead. Go ahead, Mike.
I want to comment when we were looking at the basketball shoes and he showed the Auburn shoes and Alabama shoes behind it. I like that.
We aren't totally divorced of what's going on. That show, I hope y'all can see this. So Overboard, I don't think I answered your other question, Michael, about how long. So the Kinsey exhibition, the Ramel Ross exhibition, and the Manon Ballet, which we'll talk about in a second, the Audubon show will all be up through the end of the year, through December 31st or whatever that last Sunday is of the year. That the Nike, the Air Jordan 5 replicas in the exhibition entitled Overboard are just that. They're paper, cardboard replicas of Air Jordan 5s, and the artist was inspired by there was a spill of containers that were shipping all these Air Jordans from China back to the United States. And there was a storm, they tumped over, and zillions, I'll say, of Air Jordans started floating out in the Pacific Ocean. And oceanographers started studying, first of all, the tides and and just the movement of the water and where the shoes were washing up on shore, and then they learned that left shoes went one way and right shoes went the other. So they really started learning more actually about the ocean and its currents and weather. But this artist was inspired and started to think about all kinds of other things. The labor in China, the commercialism, because that was Michael Jordan's shoe, just all of these, the brand, these Nikes. So he just had this idea one day, and he picked up some cardboard that was on the side of the road to be recycled, and he made this shoe the exact size of all the ones that had gone over into the ocean. And then he just started making more and more of different kinds of paper and cardboard. And there are 300 of them here on exhibit. And I learned about this exhibition, I think on the PBS Nightly News. It was exhibited in Washington, D.C. And I immediately thought, okay, Auburn sports, there's got to be something here. Auburn science, all of these kinds of things kind of intersecting. And the author's name is Andy Yoder. He's a fantastic guy. And so what he did was, as we were talking about, well, could we bring it here? Could we start to travel it to other SEC schools or, the NCAA Final Four, wherever? He called the Auburn bookstore and got them to send him the bags, Auburn, shopping bags, a keychain. And then he makes this Auburn shoe. And when I went to go see him in his studio, he gave it to me and said, this is what we could do. So he did that. He obviously called the Alabama bookstore as well. And so the team put them together. But when you come, you'll see everything from Barbie to Apple box, Apple computer boxes. You will be astonished at how much you recognize simply by the colors or the brand itself. So it really is powerful when you think about commercialism and the brand and the marketing and all that goes into that. So it's colorful and it's really interesting and fun. But yeah, the Auburn, Alabama piece is especially cheeky, isn't it? I guess I would say. So it'll be up, that show will be up through probably end of May, because we'll change that out. It's going to stay up longer just because it's so much fun. And we're also truly trying to figure out we're working on starting to travel it, so that not only that might be a little bit of a revenue stream for us, but it also raises Auburn's profile, right? When we lend art, we've got a piece of art that's going to Madrid in 2023. And that label always says Auburn University. So that's another way that we like to ensure that we're serving the university, is by helping to raise the profile.
Well, I think it's great because we need to be identified as more than just a football school.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of wonderful things going on. There are a lot of wonderful things going on at the museum. Can you mentioned once before about Museum in Motion? Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, I can. So we did acquire 2 retired transit, Tiger transit buses. So the buses that, kids and whoever jump on. And I won't get into, it's not as bad as the flat tire, but it's felt that trying to figure out the title and the Alabama, Opelika, DMV, all of that. So we're slogging, we're getting through that.
You better call Officer Thompson.
Send me his name. Would you send me his name? His contact info. So we're going to start to experiment with how we're going to use these. But as I was saying earlier about the creative Cubs, right, and giving kids an experience in the museum, I'm well aware that not everybody can come for all kinds of reasons. And so how do we get out into the community or out into the state to connect with the residents? I mean, again, we're a state university, and I feel that it's incumbent upon us to get out and share art and share experiences around art. And what we're thinking about doing this fall, just because we haven't, driving it, insurance, air conditioning, Wi-Fi, all these things that, are the details. But we're thinking about doing something around photography to tie onto the Ramel Ross show, but connect with young people around what it would mean to become a photographer. And everybody, if you've got an iPhone, you can take your picture, but there's the ways to kind of connect around something as tangible as a camera and what that can produce. Especially in places where there's just not this kind of resource. That's the intent of Museum in Motion. So we have 2, one to go out and perhaps one to be more local, one to go out if the other one has a flat tire, that kind of thing. But we hope to start to kind of hit the road sometime this fall. So we'll keep you posted on that.
Okay, sounds good. Sounds good. And I'm supposed to ask you, according to my wife, a new AV building in Huntsville, commissioned art from
Thank you
Museum and Artists.
You gotta love your wife. I know I do, and I'm sure you do too. So again, to share this art, right? Because like every museum, the vast majority of our collection is in the vault, and it's just there all the time because there's only so much space, so many times, so much capacity, people to research and install and all these things. And again, it's just on my mind, how are we going to share this art so that more and more people, students, faculty, visitors can see it? So I had a phone call several months ago. The university has purchased 2 buildings in Huntsville as kind of satellite research. Of course, Huntsville is NASA, and we do a great deal with the federal government. And the previous owner of the building had her own art collection installed. So the director of real estate at Auburn called me because he knew I was eager to share the art. And he said, "What do you think? Could we put some art up there?" And I said, "You bet." Then I came back to my team and said, "Yes, how are we going to do this?" So everybody does what they always do and are making it happen. But we're, like I said, exhibits are stories. So we've developed this story around land, air, space, and we've got art that reflects those concepts. Some of it's by even Auburn professors, but sculpture and art. We also the College of Engineering is where who's managing and whose buildings these are. Also supported the commissioning of new art by a wonderful Puerto Rican artist who actually will have his own show at the Whitney Museum in New York in November. And we flew him into Huntsville, drove him all around, took him up to the top of the mountains and the hills there so he could kind of look down on the, on the rockets and, everything that's there. And he's an Army vet, and he does all of his work in ballpoint pen. It's unbelievable. Wow. It's so gorgeous, and it's huge. So there are 3 very long pieces, and that, so his art is reflecting Huntsville and kind of the industrial complex, and that will all be installed next month, early next month, and the ribbon cutting is at the end of October. So we're just thrilled that this art is A, coming out of the vault, B, some new art, but C, that it's going to be seen by all kinds of folks. This is graduate students up there, research, certainly all the defense contractors that are up there, Boeing and all of those that are going to be in and out for meetings. Again, I think it says, right, Thom, we're more than a football school. That's a big part of life, to be sure, but there's a lot for our, to be proud of around Auburn, and certainly it's dedication over almost 20 years. We'll celebrate 20 years of being open to the public and being a museum at Auburn in 2023. It's a great reflection on the university. So we're thrilled to have it there, and I don't know quite how the public gets in and out, but I'm sure we can figure that out for you all to go and see it sometime.
Well, if you figure out Museum in Motion, you'll figure that out as well.
Yeah.
So I do think that this has been so educational for me, and I'm sure for the viewers at all. I mean, when you talk about a vault and so on and so forth, you're opening eyes to that this is a business, and it operates very much as a business, and it's more than just a pretty face, as people say. And so we're very, very happy that we got you, and that you've joined Auburn and bringing these kinds of things forward. Michael, Barbara, you got any final comments?
Just want to say thank you for joining us, Cindi. I look forward to seeing you on Thursday. And
my pleasure.
The museum. It's going to be wonderful.
Good. Very good. Thanks.
Cindi, thank you for joining us and sharing with us all the things that you're doing there at the museum at Auburn University. And I agree, we're so fortunate to have the museum at Auburn, and under your leadership, you're putting Auburn on the map.
Thank you so much, Michael. My best to all of you.
Let me say that my partner in crime is in terms of the Alabama boys play is Michael O'Neill, who's an Auburn grad. But Michael just joined the museum's advisory board, and so that's a crown for Michael and for the museum. And so I think it's just absolutely wonderful. Let me, Cindi, you got any final things you want to say?
I'll just say thank you. I have loved seeing you all again, and I've loved kicking off my day like this, and I'm grateful for the opportunity, and sending all best wishes to all 3 of you. And until the next time, let's don't let a whole year and a half go by.
Okay, well, I think you're going to see Barbara this week, she mentioned.
Yes.
And Michael will be there for the show, and maybe he'll get to come to the reception that you guys are holding for us. And so maybe we'll all get to see each other in person. How is that?
Yes, that would be wonderful.
Very nice. Very nice. Thank you again. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Let me read a couple of comments from my viewers. Becky Davis Gibson, Becky says she's sorry she just popped in, but she's been boarding up for the hurricane. She lives in, I think she lives in the Tampa area. She says, we are in a safe place. Evacuees are coming to us. We have a generator and the makings for chili. So they sound like they're ready. And I want to say to Pat Eddington, Pat, we sent you a copy of the book. We never heard from you. I hope you got it. If you didn't, let us know. And so that's where we are. Let's see. Let me close this thing out and say, my closing commentary is Last week we had Chris Hecox, Executive Director of the Goodge Performing Arts Center. I just want to say I'm honored to work with the Goodge Performing Arts Center on the play Alabama Boys, which will be at the Goodge on October 26th and October 27th. Michael O'Neill and I will be performing this play. It's a new play, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun. We look forward to all of you coming that can come, and we'll go from there. And I want to close out with we talked about James and Henry today, James Owens and Henry Harris. Henry Harris was the first African-American athlete at Auburn University. James Owens was the second. They were role models for all of us who followed them. Just want to say how much I appreciated them and how much I appreciate the university now taking the time to recognize these men. You know, you can get statues put up, you can get your name on the sidewalk down there because you run 100 yards or whatever. These men gave their lives. These men did something that nobody else has done and nobody else ever will do because they were the first. And we owe them that. And I will never, ever stop saying it. So that's my commentary for today. That's how I see it on September 27th in the year 2022. That's our show. I want to thank the audience. We appreciate you all very much. I want to thank Michael and Barbara. Thanks, Cindi Malinick. Cindi, it was great. Thank you very much. Thank your staff for arranging everything. And we all learned something today, and that's always a good thing. Thank our sponsor, Best Girl. Thank Emily Hedrick, the communicator, Sean Jones, the organizer. Sean, you be safe down there in South Florida. Remembering to enjoy yourself. Make every day count. Stay safe. Peace.